using all of the fancy graphs and, you know. Hey, Brian Miller here, and welcome to Audio for Content Creators, where we help you sound better and level up for all your content creation needs. Except this video isn't about audio. What? I know. This is a companion to the previous video I put out about my 5 favorite pieces of audio gear in 2020, the stuff I found most useful this year. And in this video, I'm talking about my 5 favorite pieces of non-audio gear, the stuff I never talk about on this channel because it's not audio gear. And just to be clear, I'm not talking about gear that came out in 2020, I'm just talking about what I've been using this year that I found was the most helpful. Again, not necessarily the best, but the most helpful, the stuff I reach for the most, the stuff I use the most to get the job done. And the same rules apply from the previous video, which is how did I decide 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, what order these go in? I basically asked myself, if it were stolen from me in the middle of the night, how screwed would I be the next day? Is it something that I could easily just cobble something together with something else I've got lying around, something else within arm's reach, or would I be totally and completely out of sorts without this piece of gear? Number 5, this light I'm using as the key light right now. This is the Neewer 660 Bicolor. I think it's the original version before they had clickers, which would have made my life a lot easier, of course, but it's a really, really powerful, really versatile light for a very, very affordable price. It doesn't have a tremendous amount of output. The output is good, it's pretty good, and then once you put a softbox on it, as I do, it's not nearly as powerful as maybe you would hope a key light to be, but I only ever use it from about anywhere from 3 feet away from me like it is right now to about 6 or 8 feet away from me, which is about as far as you would ever want to be from this particular key light. But for most content creators in a home studio, even in my relatively large home studio compared to offices and studios I've had in the past, you're not gonna be that far away from it. So it does a really, really good job. The colors are pretty accurate. They're not perfect, obviously, for a sub $100 light, but I find them pretty accurate. I'm not a color scientist. I'm an audio guy. I don't know as much about that stuff. So I tweak the colors a little bit in post and Final Cut using all of the fancy graphs and, analyzers and spectrums and all the things I've learned from other people's YouTube tutorials, but I only have to do very minor tweaking with this light. It's pretty accurate, and I love that it's got controls from 0 to 100% power that you can flip from a very warm tungsten light all the way up to daylight or anywhere in between. It's worth noting that the light has its most power, its maximum output, when you're actually dead center in the middle, mixing the 2 different color temperatures. I think it's like 4,200 Kelvin is somewhere that's right in the middle, somewhere around there. And actually, let me switch it right now. Now the colors are completely off because I can't re-white balance in the middle of recording, but you can see just how much brighter the output is simply by switching the color temperature from daylight at 5,600 to 4,200, which is in the middle. In other words, it's using all 660 LEDs right now, whereas when you're on full daylight or full tungsten, it's only using half, 330 of the LEDs. And here we are back to 5,600. So you can see that it's incredibly versatile, and I really love this light. I use it literally every day, all the time. Now, why did it come in the 5th spot and not higher? I've got a lot of lights. I have tons and tons of lights that in a pinch I could reach for to replace this giant one here, but as it were, I love it. Number 4 is this friction arm. One of these magic arms, friction arms with the clamp. I love this thing. I've always loved seeing people use it. My buddy Adam Krutinger, who runs the Puppeteers podcast and the Krutinger Puppets YouTube channel. You've met Adam before if you're a longtime viewer, plenty of times probably at this point. He swears by these things. He has tons and tons and tons of them, and I'm probably gonna do the same and just start ordering 8, 10, 12, 15 of these because they're so useful. Essentially, they're just super, super flexible. You can just loosen and bend them in any way, and you can just lock it down and it just stays there. And this would be so useful. It would be so useful for so many different applications. Of course, it doesn't have to be a part of the clamp. You could take this off and you could mount it to your camera's cold shoe and use it to extend the microphone closer to you, like on a live stream setup. I could use the Magic Arm on my camcorder up there, my Panasonic camcorder that is my webcam. And if I didn't want to use complicated audio setups like I do, if you wanted to streamline things, I could just take that Movo VXR10 Pro that's up there for reference audio or backup audio, and I could use a Magic Arm to extend it as a boom arm and just use one camera with one mic all connected for live streaming. I mean, that would be an amazing thing you could do with it. By adjusting it like this, I could just light up the desk and create a completely different background look than I had earlier in the video. So just to show you, right, there you go. So the background's kind of dark back there, and now it looks like that. Now, I mean, I don't need to do that. That's not something I would probably do this with, because I'm sure I could just plop the light down on the desk like that. But the point is, you can really just take this thing and attach it to anywhere and use it for almost any accessory that you need to mount in a location that's hard to get to. I use it to mount this light as my hair light, as my kicker light from the track lights that I have up there. Sometimes I use it to mount to way up high, all of these curtain rods that are at the very top at the ceiling of my all the different windows and the closets. I'll mount it way up there. I'll just clamp this thing onto the ceiling rod at the curtain rod at the top near the ceiling, and so I can angle a kicker light from anywhere in the studio from wherever I'm filming. So really, really useful. They're very cheap. I've talked way too long about this. Go pick one of these up, or 10. Number 3, this video tripod from Cayer. This thing's great. I never owned a fluid head proper video tripod. All the tripods that I used to use were always kind of photography tripods because they were cheaper and lighter for travel. But this year I stopped traveling and I wanted to just have one video tripod with a fluid head that I could just permanently leave my content creation camera on to do all of these videos that are not the ones I need for live streaming, right? I have permanent cameras set up for all my live streaming for my professional work, but then I have one camera with one lens on one tripod that has a video fluid head. And for the price of this Cayer tripod, so much cheaper than you would normally expect to pay for, I don't have a lot of experience with these, right? It's not like I have a big comparison, but for me, it's really smooth, beautiful fluid head. The tripod goes up forever. It goes up to like, I don't know, 10 feet or 12 feet or something. It's really, really easy to manipulate, easy to use. I don't have much else to say about it. It comes with a nice carrying case. Big fan. Number 2, and speaking of my content creation setup with the tripod and the camera, this lens, I didn't want to I used to switch lenses all the time. I used to use lots of primes for content creation because I had a lot more time, but now with spending every day in this studio doing live streaming constantly as my professional work, I just didn't feel like playing around when I wanted to do my content creation, when I wanted to make YouTube videos or videos for my social channels or anything else. I just wanted one lens that would get the job done. And that is, the lens I chose, of course, is the Lumix 12-35 f2.8. And I know, it's a really boring choice. It's like the standard obvious, most obvious choice for the Panasonic Lumix system. It's the one almost everybody gets with the GH5 and the GH4. It's a killer lens. There's a reason it's the standard lens. It's got a really good zoom range in the Micro Four Thirds system. It means it goes from 24 to 70, so it's not huge, but it's your standard zoom range, which means anywhere I am in the studio, anything I'm doing, even if I'm not in the studio, I can set up the shot from 3 feet away, from 2 feet away, from a million feet away, and still get my framing right. I mean, here it is as wide as it goes, right? You saw this angle a little bit earlier in this video. This is as wide as it goes from the exact same shot. You can even, I mean, you could see stuff that you shouldn't be seeing right now, right? You can see oh, I mean, super, super wide. You can see my ginger ale over here at this point. Hopefully nothing that shouldn't be off in camera right now. But I can also zoom into this close, which is crazy close considering. And because it's a fixed f2.8, it never adjusts the aperture, it never gets darker or lighter. It just stays at 2.8 all the way through the zoom range. And this lens has optical image stabilization built in. So when you turn that on and pair it with a G85 body, when you pair it with one of the image stabilized bodies, you get 5-axis image stabilization, which is truly amazing. So I love the range, I love the stabilization, I love the sharpness of this lens. In any regard, this lens is fantastic. And before we get to my number one top choice of favorite non-audio pieces of gear 2020, here are a few honorable mentions. First, the software Streamyard. Oh yes, Streamyard. Oh, what a gift to live streaming Streamyard has been this year. Just incredibly easy to use live streaming software. They have a free option. Of course, I'm using a paid option so I can have all kinds of custom branding and logos and all that stuff. But you get text banners and lower thirds and scrolling, and you can put overlays that, if you want to, that are, you know, transparent overlays. You can use video clips built in. You can stream to many different sites at the same time, YouTube and Facebook and LinkedIn, and simultaneously get the feed of all the comments from all of those different places. You can click a comment and it shows up beautifully on the screen. Like I said, if you pay, you can do custom branding and have your logo up there, and invite up to 10 guests into the backstage area so that you can bring multiple people on the screen at once. It's just, the reason you've seen StreamYard take over the live streaming space this year is because it is just so good, and the price is really, really still very good. I'm surprised it hasn't been jacked up at this point in 2020. I'm sure it will be at some point. If you ever wanted to play with live streaming at a professional level, but you didn't want to learn OBS or XSplit or Ecamm or any of these things, StreamYard, oh, it's the way to go. Another honorable mention are the super cheap remote control DJ lights that I picked up for some uplighting in the studio. Here's one. There we go. Here's one I've got on the floor behind me over here. I've got 4. Every corner of the room right now has one. That corner and that corner and that corner and this corner. So anywhere I'm filming, I can get some different colors behind me. That's just daylight right there. Let's see. Here's some blue. Here's a different blue that I use all the time. You see me use this blue a lot lately. Here is purple. So we got a real simple remote. It came with 4 lights and 4 remotes, but the same remote works on all of them. So the other 3 remotes are just in a box somewhere. I just use this one to run around the room with it. You have on, off, you have brightness. So I can dim down the brightness, of course, if I want to, and I can, they're cheap, they're fun, they're easy, they're great for content creation. And one more honorable mention is this, the ClearClick HDMI Video Capture Box Ultimate. Video Capture Box Ultimate. This has an HDMI in and an HDMI out, and it's got USB in and USB to PC and a whole bunch of buttons, and basically you can use this to record any HDMI signal. So you can run a HDMI out of your computer as a second monitor and record the screen directly into here. But what I'm using it for is, of course, to capture when I'm doing live streaming. Instead of an Atomos Ninja or one of those, Black Magics that are really, really expensive, this is only about 220 bucks. And what I love about it is very few of the HDMI recorders out there have a built-in slot for an SD card. So I don't need to get an SSD or another external hard drive to record to. I run out of my live streaming setup, HDMI into here, hit record, and it records directly to the SD card. It's a third of the price of like the next cheapest thing that does this. And it has a screen, right? It has a screen so you can actually monitor your live stream right here while you're doing it. For 220 bucks, it does what it's supposed to. It only made my honorable mentions because I've only had it for a couple of weeks, and that's not long enough for it to make a list of things that I loved in 2020. And my number one favorite piece of non-audio gear this year is, of course, the ATEM Mini. I mean, if you didn't think it was gonna be the ATEM Mini, where have you been this year in content creation? As as somebody who now live streams professionally, mostly private live streams for all my private clients, right? Corporations and colleges and things like that. But having multicam switching with all the functionality and picture-in-picture and fades and all of it at my fingertips in a package that only costs $300 and is this big with 4 HDMI inputs and being able to put still images up and all that, I would not have been able to continue my career this year the way that I've done it at the professional level that I've done it without the ATEM Mini. If it disappeared in the middle of the night, I would have to immediately order another one. I would be completely screwed if I had a client, an event for a client the next day. I don't need to ramble on about the ATEM Mini. You know what it is. If you care about content creation, if you're watching this video, you've seen it everywhere on YouTube this year. For 300 bucks, which is the base model, which is what I have, you can't beat it. It's just amazing. Paired with the software, oh, what a gift. So those are my 5 favorite pieces of non-audio gear in 2020. Are any of these things that you wish you had? Are they on your wish list? Or do you have some of these? Is there something you expected me to mention that I didn't? Go ahead, leave me any feedback, comments, thoughts in the comments below. That being said, thanks so much for sticking with me. My name is Brian Miller, and always remember, our world is a shared experience. Every interaction is meaningful, and every person you meet, even virtually, is important. So come back anytime to sound better and level up, and we'll see you soon.